Greetings War Thunderers, this is Longshot, and in this video I will show you highlights of my first hour taking the Ki-43-II into realistic battles. As I'm a veteran arcade player and a newcomer to RB, my hope is that these vids will help other arcade players who are interested in making the transition. This plane has excellent climb rate, it turns very well indeed, and has one of the fastest roll rates of any fighter. However, it's armed with only two 12.7mm machine guns, and it's very fragile. Now, if you're used to arcade, you might interpret fragility as simply meaning that the plane can't absorb much damage from gunfire, which is correct, it can't. But that's not all you need to worry about in RB. Here I've put the plane straight into a steep dive with 100% throttle. The speed indicator turns red at 630 km an hour, and the moment I pass 700, off go the wings. So you might think, well, that's okay, I'll just keep it below 700 and I'll be fine. Well, not so, as I found out a couple of times in battle. Here I'm trying to gently drop down to engage an enemy P400. My throttle is low, I'm periodically levelling off to avoid building up too much speed, but even so I'm getting extreme overload warnings, and you've got to take those seriously. And while they're at 9 Gs, the plane can stand it, but I kept pulling max elevator here and the Gs hit 10, and a moment later, off go the wings. Note the speed I was doing, around 490 km an hour, and that's fast enough to break this plane if you pull a hard turn for too long. And trust me, there's nothing more deflating in RB than to overload your plane and lose your wings like this, and with the Hayabusa it is so easy to do. So let's take a look at my very first flyout in this plane and my first RB game, since my previous look at the mode six months ago, when I was discouraged by the amount of team killing I saw at the time. So I'm taking off and I see a bit of tracer flicking past. I think, okay, someone's clearing their guns. Yep, it's that Ki-10 behind me. Hang on, what's he doing? Yes, he's lining up on me, and here he goes. And lucky for me, he's a terrible shot. Yes, in my very first game back to RB, I have an attempted would-be team killer. Why does this happen to me? I don't know. It's like I got a big target painted on my back. My guess is that this guy is probably new to the game and just couldn't be bothered flying all the way across the battlefield to meet the enemy and probably be shot down for no reward, so he decided to pick on a target that was right in front of him on the runway. And my question now is, how do I get this guy off my back? Because, newbie or not, he's in an incredibly manoeuvrable plane and he's at such close range I can't run away from him. And all it'll take is a brief burst to connect and I'll probably lose a wing. So I'm just pulling hard, fast manoeuvres here to try and keep my speed up, and yes, I've lost him. He probably lost sight of me there, and I've got to take a shot here, otherwise he'll either return and have another go at me or pick on someone else, which it looks like he's trying to do. And so I'll take the penalty for a friendly kill there. Better not to have people like that in the game. And unfortunately I took a bit of damage to my engine, so I dropped down and repaired, and by the time I come back half my team was already dead. The rest were dying down at ground level, and no one else was up here except for this PBY, because my tactic was to try and climb at the start using that excellent climb rate of this plane, and then look to engage people once I had an altitude advantage, which was easy to get, and look to close in and engage people in close dogfights to make use of the plane's turning ability. But at the moment I got this PBY, which is not a preferred target. I mean, he's got 50 cal gunners, it's a tough plane. I haven't got the weapons to bring him down, but he's up here, so I may as well give it a shot. I'm trying to work my way underneath him, and then I'll lift up for a bit of a shot at his wings, if he'll hold still for me, but he has no intention of holding still, so I'm going to waste a bit of ammo there. And then a bit more, just trying to light up one of the fuel tanks, which are between the engines and the fuselage in the wings, but no such luck. And just with those two bursts I've used up nearly 200 rounds out of my 500, and I could see that I was just going to blow straight through it. Especially as this guy obviously was not going to fly nice and straight and make himself an easy target for me. So I decided to let him go. There's a lot of enemy fighters down there at ground level. I'll just start slowly circling around and losing my height and dropping down above them, and see if I can find a target that might be a bit easier to hit. Okay, now it's just me versus the enemy, but at this point most of them were heading back to their base to reload or refuel, whatever, which just left a Blenheim that was circling around here and an I-15 directly beneath me there, and he's making himself busy taking shots at armoured cars. So I can just drop down with a split S from above. I've got 0 throttle, I don't want to build up too much speed for obvious reasons. Just to hit, and I've wasted a bit more ammo there, firing when I'd obviously lost the shot. So a bit of a high yo-yo, just waiting to see what he does. He's trying to pull his plane up vertically for a moment there, and he obviously has very little energy. So I'm sweeping back in for a second shot, and this will line up very nicely indeed. Okay, first kill in RB with this plane. And it wasn't a bad one. But my problem here is that I'd actually done a lot of practicing custom battles against AI robot biplanes, and as you know, they don't fly their planes to anything like their capabilities, and you can get lulled into a bit of a false sense of security flying against those too often, and that was my problem here. I kind of assumed that this next I-15 would be a bit of a pushover like the first one was, and it wasn't to be. So I've turned back towards him, not knowing what his energy state was, not knowing obviously anything about the capabilities of the pilot, and just assumed that I'd be above him and be able to dominate a short dogfight as I did with the first I-15. And very soon here I realised my mistake. He's got plenty enough energy to point his plane straight up out of a turn and let loose at me. So yeah, I need to build up a bit more speed, so I'm raising flaps. I'm trying to climb and get above him with a succession of Immelmans. But look at my speed. In the process I'm losing it all. And I'm not leaving him behind beneath me. He's slowly climbing up and trying to get on equal terms. And yeah, I've tried for another Immelman with far too little speed under my wings, and that's exposed me to quite a long burst here. I've tried to get my plane side on to him without exposing the wings too much, which let me get away with that. But now, yeah, I desperately need to gain some speed. So into a split S. Try and get underneath. Again, exposed to another raking burst. But while in that split S, I saw a Ki-10 approaching quite high, not very far away, and I know I'm in a lot of trouble now. I'm not going to have the ability to run away, because that Ki-10 was above. He'd be able to run me down, because this plane really isn't that fast. There he is, overshooting. He'll be turning around and on my tail in the blink of an eye. So my mistake here, and I'm going to take some damage and lose a wing. My mistake here was obviously engaging an opponent before I knew what the respective energy states were, because you can't engage a biplane on equal terms, and that was too close to equal terms with the I-15. Yeah, so I ended up just fighting for my life and dodging shots when I really didn't need to. So it was a judgment error on my part. Lesson learned. Okay, here we have the next game with a Spitfire. This is at the start of the battle. I've climbed, I'm getting near to 6,000 metres, and I've outclimbed that Spitfire. And it's a very good climber as well. It's actually a slightly better climber than the Hayabusa, if you take it up at the right speed, which I don't think that guy has. Either that or he just stopped climbing a bit earlier than what I did. And the question now is what's going to happen. He's trying to fly away from me and continue to climb, and I'm going to track him. I really don't want obviously him to get up to my altitude, though in a way it wouldn't really matter because I should be able to outturn him. Okay, he's now approaching, but not for a shot at me. He wants to swoop past underneath. And here's my problem. I can't really drop down into a fast split S at high speed because you know what I'll risk doing to my wings. So I'm just hovering above him. What I really want is for him to poke his nose up, trying to get a shot at me, because that will give me a good chance of catching him in a low energy state. But it wasn't to be. He decided to give up and dive away to ground level, where already most of the fighters are. But approaching was a BF-109, so it wasn't over for me up here yet. And he's looking a fair bit more aggressive. He's trying to lift up for a shot. I've flown across the top, and now I'm hoping if I can drop down I can catch him if he continues to climb, but no, he hasn't done so. He's rolled over into a split S, and now I have exactly the same situation that I had with the Spitfire. An enemy fighter hanging beneath me, keeping their speed high, continuing to roll over into split S's to avoid any hint of me dropping down in a diving attack, and me being unable to get up my own speed in order to follow and make an aggressive diving attack because of the fragility of this plane. And eventually I had to let him go. So that left just me and an H6K up at altitude. Everyone else was down to the deck in the blink of an eye. And at this battle rating at least, that seems to happen an awful lot. It's like, you know, most players don't even bother to climb. And those who do, once they see a couple of targets lower down, they just dive straight at them. So very few players hold altitude, at least at the start of the battle, for the initial merge. Okay, for this H6K, he's flying straight, unlike the PBY did in that previous game, so I do have a good chance here. What I need is an accurate shot at his fuel tanks, which are lined along the top of the wings. So I'm trying for vertical, fast strafing runs from above, and try to be as accurate as I can dropping shots on those wings, because if I can start a fire, I can kill that plane. That is the only way I can kill that plane. I can't do anything else to it. So here we go. And this obviously minimises my exposure to his gunners. But I do need a bit more accuracy than that. Okay, so that's 2 runs. I've got 200 rounds of ammo left. Probably enough for another 2 runs. Let's see how we go here. Again, vertically from above. I'm hitting the right wing, and his left wing catches on fire. Who knows why, but I'll take it. And as I watch, his right wing also is set ablaze, so that plane is doomed. So I have a kill in this battle, and I'm sort of approaching it from the point of view, if I get 1 kill, then anything beyond that is a bonus. After that I went and reloaded and rearmed, and once again climbing back. Now there are 2 enemy fighters left. The Spitfire, and what I thought was the one in Immelmans was actually an Ishak, and I don't know where that plane is. So at the moment, again, I've outclimbed the Spit. He's trying now to be more aggressive though. He's trying to turn in and get a shot at me, but he doesn't quite do it. And I aim a little bit high, unfortunately, so I missed my shot there. But he really does want to engage, because it's just me and a DB7 on my team, and the DB7's way back at our airfield at the moment. So again, he's trying to turn up, and this time I will land some good hits on him. But unfortunately to no effect. If I had cannon, I think that plane would be falling out of the sky right now, or at least I could reasonably expect that it would. Made a bit of a mistake there. I pulled up into an Immelman and lost all my speed. You've got to be so careful doing that. I mean, even in arcade, you pull up into Immelmans too often, you'll lose contact with a plane that you're dogfighting with, and give them room to manoeuvre, and that's exactly what I've done here. So I'm circling back above him, and we're back into the situation we were in before, except this time he doesn't have other targets just to give up on me and dive and attack someone else. It's just me, and he's got to find a way to attack me, at least until the DB7 returns to the fray. And as I look down there, I see a second black dot. There's the other plane, so they're both beneath me now, which is good. It's always discomforting, trying to fight an enemy fighter in a dogfight, and you don't know where the other plane is. It could be stalking you and ready to jump you when you least expect. But once they're both beneath me now, it's a matter of trying to watch and see when one of them sticks their nose up and use it as an opportunity to attack. So I-16's out to the left, Spitfire's out to the right. I'd rather they were either both really close together, gives me a chance of attacking both of them at once, and they can't support each other because they're too close, or a long way away from each other, too far that they can actually give each other any kind of support if I attack one, as is the case right now. But I'm a bit wary that the Spitfire might be using that distance he's opened up to gain some altitude. So I'm just covering off on him for now. Just trying to keep an eye on both planes. And in fact the Spitfire is approaching. Quite fast. I-16 isn't that far away and he's turned back toward me. I can easily outclimb the I-16. I'm really not worried by him because I can outturn him as well. It's just both planes at once. Trying to find the situation where I can get a chance to take a shot at one without coming into the gunfire of the other. Okay, Spitfire setting himself up for me to take a bit of a diving attack at him here with a split S, but I didn't get the shot. He'd already split S'd over before I got in range. And where is the I-16? And you see that is the danger. Taking a run at one of them, I can leave myself exposed to the other. But in terms of leaving themselves exposed, I think the I-15's done exactly that. He's got himself stalled out. There's vapour trails from the wings. And what I really should have done here was cut my engine so I had a bit more time to make this turn. As it is, I only got a brief hit on him and was lucky to avoid a collision. But he's sprung a leak of some sort. Whether that's oil or what, I don't know. I kind of hoped it was an oil leak and that he'd be out of oil soon and have a dead plane on his hands, but not to be. He kept trailing that oil for quite a long time, or whatever it is that he's leaking. Spitfire's turn to open himself up for a bit of a shot here, unless he turns over, which he does. So once again, I've got to bail and abort. This is just like a game of chess. It's a game of manoeuvre, and it was actually quite tense. This is the part of RB battles that I really do enjoy. Once planes have the initial merge is over, the initial lot of planes at ground level have been shot down, the ones you're left with, who go back and refuel and come back and climb, are often the better pilots. And you can get some very interesting battles on which the outcome of the game is hanging. Having the outcome of a battle resulting from just your efforts alone is really quite something. Okay, so once again, didn't get a shot. They're both dodging away before I can get within range, and I'm continuing to hold my altitude advantage over them. Now I could drop down and just engage in a dogfight on level terms, because I can outturn both planes. The Spitfire only just. But in doing so, because there's two of them, it's just taking too great a risk, and a risk I don't need to take. I've got plenty of fuel here, probably more than either of those planes, because I brought 45 minutes worth of fuel to the battle to save myself from having to run back and refuel too often. I can afford to be patient here and just wait until one of these guys makes an error. And also what I'm hoping to do in waiting for them to stall their planes out in a futile attempt to attack me is that'll give me quite a long shot at the target. And I need a long burst with these weapons, and hopefully I'm about to get one at the Spitfire here. But I am a little bit short and only just clip his tail. No luck. Need some more practice on my aiming. You can never get enough practice at aiming in this game. But that's several times now I've got hits on that Spitfire. And again, if I had cannon there, I could have done some more damage. Or even another big bank of machine guns would have been good too, but that is a problem with this plane. It just doesn't have the weapons to drop an enemy that easily. Okay, this is the I-16 making a run at me now. He may well be. Looks like the Spitfire is diving away. Okay, so I've engaged combat flaps. I pull a gentle turn here, not too steeply down in the vertical. Nope, nothing's doing. Regain some speed. Spitfires come back. And as you can see, the DB7's on his way over to the battlefield now. And he's actually scored an air kill or two in this battle from people who are trying to go head on with him, so he's hoping that the same thing will happen now. Oh, that was a golden opportunity, but once again only clipped his tail. Just aimed that little bit short. And you've got to get so close with these guns too, because the bullets lose velocity very quickly on these Japanese 12.7s, so it's only at extreme close range that they really do work. And that Spitfire has had enough now, he's running away. So it is just me now and the I-16 plus the friendly DB7. And upon realising this, I thought, right, this is a golden opportunity. I just need to get down there and engage that I-16, particularly if he decides to take on the DB7 in preference to me. So I start to get more aggressive, and that will be my undoing. Because in starting to lower my altitude aggressively like this, I am gaining a lot of speed. And then I made a mistake of engaging combat flaps to try and pull the hard turn, and I'm thinking about the flaps so I don't realise I'm about to overload the airframe. I went past 11 Gs extreme overload, and the plane can't handle that. So after all of that effort, all that patient manoeuvring, waiting for the opportunity for a kill, I end up with nothing, and the battle was lost as a result. It's just so disappointing. And some people might be asking, well, why do you actually fly this plane as a first one to take on after coming from arcade? Wouldn't it be better to fly a plane that's a bit more strongly constructed, where you're not likely to lose your wings, like a Buffalo, for example? But the thing is, I want to learn the mechanic of wing ripping through G-forces and so on, and learn how to avoid making that mistake. And I'm not going to learn it if the plane is immune to that kind of mistreatment, and I can just fly it as if I'm flying a plane in arcade. If I can learn to cope with this plane and keep its wings intact, then I should be able to do well in pretty much any plane, from that point of view anyway, in RB. Anyway, this picked on this hawk. He decided to try and go into a bit of a scissors with me and ended up right in front of my guns. So that's a nice kill to start off this next battle. Next, I have a hurricane trying to climb and get on level terms with me. And I haven't done testing on the hurricane in RB, so I don't know how sharply that guy can turn relative to me. So I'm a bit wary of getting into an equal terms turning battle with him. So I'm just trying to extend away, keep out of range just for now, and also get a measure of how much energy he's carrying. And you can see he dipped his nose there, so he didn't quite have the speed to follow me. And it would have been nice if I'd been in a position to turn and engage the moment he dipped his nose, but I was facing 180 degrees the wrong direction. And I hoped to drop on him from above here, but he decided to started to lift up and threaten to engage me head on. So I thought I'll abort from that, loop back around, and again hopefully catch him in a stall here. And it looked very promising at this stage. But do you think I could get a decent hit there? It looked like a golden opportunity, but I had to lower the nose. I was kind of facing the wrong way in order to track him. But right now I'm sitting behind him and getting quite a few good hits, but it's a bad angle at which to take on a hurricane. I'm just shooting into wherever all of his armour and the whole length of his fuselage is, so I can't land any kind of telling blows. And now he's gone evasive and he's flying away, and he'll dive away to ground level, so that ends that. I can't follow him. And it is disappointing in this plane. You have a lot of planes who just dive away from you, and there is so little you can do. You can have all that turning ability in the world, but if you can't follow a plane and force them to fight you, then yeah, what is it worth? And okay, so now I've got a P40. I was trying to save the H6K from him, but I was a bit too late to arrive. So best I can hope is to avenge him. But it's not just a P40, I have a P400 as well beneath me. So once again, I'm outnumbered. I have two planes. Most of my team is already gone because none of them climbed except me. It's a very, very common pattern I found in these battles. Climbing is rare, at least at this battle rating range. Okay, what's going to happen here? I have to get a measure of these pilots, of their intentions, of how observant they are, how aggressive they are. So I'm going to start with a bit of a diving attack. I've got my throttle turned right down, and I've got to be careful not to pull too many G's as I start to lift up into a climb. Okay, the P40 is very observant. He saw me coming and split-est away. P400 is less so. Just scored a hit there, but he only ducked away at the very last minute. And this also illustrates what I meant by it's really good if you've got two planes beneath you trying to attack and they're both close together. Oh, that's interesting on the part of the P400. It's taking a very long range and very hopeful spray and pray at me there. And that's basically announced that he is a rope-a-dope candidate. But anyway, with both of these planes together, I can make a diving attack and both of them are under threat. So that's what I mean, they can't support each other because they'll both have to dodge and dive away from my attack, as that P40 is doing. So now he can't support the P400, and unfortunately I didn't get a shot there, but I was hoping for a similar setup as the first attack, where the 400 was in my guns as I came out of the dive. Let's see if he takes another spray and pray. Yes, he's trying, but this time he's a kilometre away from me, so he still took a shot there too. There's a bit of tracer in the air. This time they're going in different directions, so I can't do an attack on both of them at the one time here. Let's see if I can catch this P400. No, not this time. So once again, just preserve my altitude advantage and watch what they're doing. P40 seems to have lost a bit of speed, and he's moved away a little. He's not approaching, so I could attack the P400 here if he sets himself up, and this time I'm poised and primed to make a diving attack after his failed spray and pray attempt. And here we go, I'm going to catch him completely stalled out. Just a question of whether I can get my bullets to hit, and I can this time. And I pushed that a bit too close to the edge on the pull out of the dive there. 9 G's for far too long. If I'd gone just over into 10, you know what would have happened. And yeah, I would have taken on the P40, except he was very soon joined by an F3F. Did not want to be in a dogfight situation with an F3F buzzing around. So again, I was trying to build an altitude advantage over both planes when their last remaining fighter, a Spitfire at ground level, decided to clean up the ground targets. And it ended very similar to how many ground strike battles do in arcade. in a very unsatisfying kind of fashion. So after an hour of flying this plane in RB, let's take a look at my statistics. I've taken it out in 6 battles, only won 2 of them, and that was mostly due to nearly every team I was in. They all dived and I was the only climber. In fact, here's how it looked in one of the games. I was just left alone above a sea of red planes. This kind of thing was common, and with the Ki-43 you're just not able to dominate because your plane just isn't strong enough to make high speed attacks. You can't be threatening, you've got to wait for the opponent to come to you and try and engage you in a way that exposes them to your guns. So in those battles I lost my plane 3 times, once through being shot down as you saw, and the other 2 were the wing rips. And yeah, shot down 7 planes in 6 battles, which isn't bad, but the plane is not quite as good or as useful as I thought it might be, simply because of its fragility. So I'm kind of questioning now whether it was the best plane to select as the one to fly for Japan, or if I should have gone for the Ki-41-II, which I've only flown once in RB, and that was a very long time ago. But in my next video in this series, I'll take on the Spitfire Mark 1A. Should be a lot more friendly plane for an arcade player adjusting to RB, and I'll see what that plane can do. As always, I look forward to your comments, especially if you're a seasoned RB player and you can see things that I'm doing wrong and can make suggestions that will help all of us improve our flying. That'd be great. So until my next video, I wish you good hunting no matter what mode you play, and I'll be seeing you in the skies.